All right, my quick and dirty explanation of best in class versus suite. Greater capabilities, is that, do you want the deep hole that goes very robust, or do you want the mile wide, inch deep approach? Do you want to be able to have support people that actually know what it is that you are trying to do, not only technically, but from a business process perspective, because they're dealing with more calls that are in relation to things you care about. We're also talking about your ability to have more engineering resources, more tech support resources, more sales resources, more operational support resources, and all these things really geared towards supporting you and your team and the things that you care about, which means that you're getting greater capabilities, higher quality support, better product releases, all the things you would anticipate from a best-in-class type solution. Following this is my pitch for the bigger picture. More things that take longer than 60 seconds to talk about.
Yeah, best in class versus suite. I think there's a couple of things. There's the fact that you've got 100% of resources, whether it's engineering, support, even the salespeople that you're working with, really focusing on the product itself, as well as really the sales strategy around it is one of more of a consultative approach where you're not scared to really dig into the real needs and requirements of the client. Because those things don't scare you, right? You have a much deeper, much more robust solution. I think beyond the support and just the way you engage initially, though, there's a much bigger thing at play here, which has to really drive towards the ability to where your strategy, your focus, I should say, is that you have a strategy around really connecting and playing well with others and wanting to work with other organizations so that you really enable that freedom of choice for your customers. I think that Intact is doing a really great job in that, but also taking a step further and following the lead with great organizations like Salesforce.com, Apple as an example. If you think historically, the idea of buying a phone and what you got from that phone is really all you ever could have. Opening that up to not only creating widgets that can plug into that phone and extends capabilities, which is kind of like what integration is today, right? What's the case that you want, or what's the CRM you want, right? It's like these different ways of interacting and exchanging and doing things, or streaming audio, whatever. But also, having that same philosophy of best in class towards the inner workings of your solution, right? So using things like platform to allow an ecosystem of really great partners that are very focused on specific business processes to really extend the capabilities of the solution. Once again, we see that with even like with the iPhone, with the Android devices, where now from instead of having a phone that had contacts and a number, maybe a calendar, things of that nature, to something where there's applications that are extended above and beyond that. And we're seeing those same types of things happen with Intact today, and we've seen obviously Apple, Salesforce.com be very, very successful in that regard. So I'm going to give you two examples of that following this. One being just the idea of what you can do when you bridge something beyond what it's natively capable of, and the other being where the kind of analogy of what happens when you play on the capabilities of the strengths of your team that's very passionate about something in particular versus being more.
Okay, so we talked about the strategy of best in class. Now let's talk a little bit about what's the impact, right, for the end user. Typical suite approach is, what's your requirements, right? Requirements are, I need a lock that can keep people out of my house and blah, 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 right? Typical solution is, here's what we've done, what we've always done. Once you get into best in class, you get people that are really focused and they've got the time to dedicate to figuring out a better way of doing things. That's where things start to get really interesting, right? So now we talked about the platform of Android and Apple, and just having that freedom of choice to connect with different services. Great example of that is be able to use the devices that you love to access information, or maybe access your home as you lock and unlock your house with your phone. Great example of using best in class. All these guys do is make locks, make a great app for it. They're not doing home security systems. They're not trying to run my toaster. They just make a great app for securing and unsecuring my home. So I want to use the analogy of music. When you have people that are very specialized in what they do, they can bring a very an element of refinement to the experience, and we can apply that to business process as well. So when you have someone who focuses on sales operations versus financial planning and analysis versus making sure that payroll and HR is handled, each one of these disciplines really does warrant its own special focus, not only as far as the resources and people that are involved, but as well as the solution, really driving towards great capabilities. So to give it a good example of that, we're going to have some friends of mine here play One is the Loneliest Number, where we start off with one or two people kind of doing that, to what happens when everyone kind of really comes together as a team, playing on their strengths to drive towards something that's really fantastic. So I hope you enjoy this.